So, there's a problem. Our beloved Helldiver 2 has lost around 90% of its player base. Now, in the real world, what that means is it has lost around 90% of its players. Let's snap back to reality for a moment, guys. I know Super Earth needs us, but bear with me. Now, a lot of people think, like any other game, which comes in hot and slowly bleeds to death. I'm not pointing any finger. Helldiver 2 is gonna die out. But I don't think that's true. Here's why. Let's dial a few months back.
Flashback.
When the game released in February of 2024, it took the world out by storm. Everyone was talking about this game. The original Helldiver was a decent game and had a small community of following. But Helldiver 2 was something else. The game intro was such a compelling one. Look at the guy talking about sacrifice for their family, for their community. It just gives me goosebumps. With a small but passionate studio named Arrowhead behind it, the game had no stopping. The players were increasing day by day, so much so that studio were not able to accommodate so many players on their servers. It reached a peak of 458,000 players, which for any game is an astonishing amount. And all these big AAA gaming studios got the taste of how a passionate studio can create a compelling game and not burn our pockets. And overall, it was a win for the gamers and the studio alike. But like any other game, good things, it has to come to an end. Or is it? Let's find out together. Hi, my name is Noble Nerd. I basically cover videos regarding games or gaming in general, just trying to give back to the community which I have taken so much from, trying to leave a positive impression on the community. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe, and please watch my other videos. Now, when we talk about big fuck-ups, how can we not include the name of Sony? On May 3rd, Helldiver 2 posted an update on social media forums saying that all the players needed to link their PSN account with their Steam in order to play their Helldiver 2. Why is that?
I'm not gonna say what race, what people. It was a
Sony was the publisher of the game. That's why. Now, the PSN account for Sony is a big stinker itself. It's super unstable and overall very unpleasant to work with. I don't know why these big companies keep shoving their gaming launchers or account down our throat. I mean, it's just so ugly to work with them. Now, this isn't an issue, but remember the PSN service? It's not available in around 177 countries, which means all the players from those 177 countries won't be able to play the game after the May 6 patch drops. This follows the trend of big companies trying to push something which is beautiful and passionate. Not sure why they are so upset with their PSN, like it's peak show of term entitlement. But this time the gamers had enough of the bullying. We gathered all around and review bombed the game on Steam together. This was the one time where I supported the idea of review bombing. And in few days the god fell down on their knees. The Zeus was upon land begging for the mercy of the gamers. And us being the kind ones, we accepted their apology. Really not. We didn't give a fuck, we just wanted to play the game. Now the Sony ultimately dropped their decision of making the PSN account mandatory. And it was a huge victory for us fellow Helldivers and the Arrowhead studio. The one thing I had to say during this was, the studio was incredibly supportive and communicated with their players. Arrowhead also wasn't happy with it. Who wants to kill their player base? But they couldn't do anything since the game was published under the Sony. But during this, many players had left the game already and never returned, leaving a sizable damage to the player base. And even though Sony had dropped their decision of not needing a PSN account, still the game isn't available for purchase in many regions where the PSN service was not present, leaving a lot of fellow soldiers who wanted to jump in this game empty-handed. But don't worry brothers, we will carry out liberty for you and for all of us. Now, the game was released in February and a bunch of players jumped in right away. The developer from the studio were passionate about the game and you could clearly see it in the details of the game. Now, just to give a flashback of what Helldiver 2 is. Helldiver 2 takes place in a science fiction universe in which humanity is now united under the managed democracy. The Helldivers 2 are elite soldiers sent by Super Earth to fight the galactic war and protect the planet from the aliens and foreign threats alike. Now, the game had a difficulty varying from easy to Helldive, the latter were being literally impossible, especially the automaton ones. On the Helldive difficulty, that was outrageous. It was like a war. I could still feel the horror of those in my head right now as we speak. And same goes with the terminants, or I'm just gonna call them bugs. These are the gross things which were infesting the worlds, just populating more and more and try to take over the planets. There were many worlds in the game, and each had a progress bar of liberation, which indicated that how much of the planet has been liberated already, or in process of being liberated. This kept players wanting to liberate the planet and spread the managed democracy. The play loop was very lucrative and created the whole narrative behind the game, which made the game even interesting. And to make matters more interesting, Helldivers 2 had a literal dungeon master, a guy who controls the enemy, spicing up the game whenever it feels easy, or simply being a badass anime boss character. And this created some amazing moments in the gaming history. All this just shows the amount of love and passion the studio had put behind this game. Now, liberating a planet was an obvious goal for Helldivers. Like, who doesn't want to spread the managed democracy? But then again, you also wanted to level up to unlock all those stratagems and collect sample to upgrade your ship and hangar. And as the time went by, the players granted the game since the game was so good and unlocked all the stratagems and the upgrade needed for the ship and hangar. And this eventually made the game a lot easier. Now, why is this an issue? Remember, the game is interesting because it's hard. It creates movements which were unimaginable at first. No one's gonna Helldive in easy mode. The goal was to make the Helldive difficulty possible. I still remember once playing the Helldive difficulty for the first time and feeling like it was the end of my gaming or end of the world. The game being hard created some amazing / scary moments, completing the mission on difficulty, awarded with great XP, samples, and most of all, the satisfaction of spreading the sweet managed democracy. And as you kept grinding, this difficulty became easier and easier, leaving the players void of the loop which they were addicted to. When I played the game recently, I never spotted a player less than level 25, or I might even say less than level 50, which made the Helldive difficulty very easy and much possible. All the teammates were experienced, we were easily completing the missions, and I think this is an issue. But it's not an unsolvable one. Knowing the studio behind it, the Arrowhead, I'm sure that upcoming update will bring more content and definitely fix this difficulty loop. You just saw what I did there, right? Contentless. Now, speaking about the content, sure the game had added some amazing updates, adding new enemies and stratagems, but it's only a matter of time you get bored of fighting the same enemy factions, the same automatons, the same bugs, doing the same objective again and again. The game needs new content and stuff to keep the players engaged. And in case of Helldivers 2, it had managed to keep a sizable amount of players playing this game during this contentless phase. And this is a very good thing. Remember, not every game can be Fortnite or Valorant or any other PvPs. In those games, you could play a single round with infinite ways. The live service games operate differently. The players will put in hours and grind the game to reach the desired place and just play something else. Now, this does not mean that the game is just dead or just boring. It simply means you had done everything the game had to offer. But when a new update or new patch drops, the players will return. And this has been the case for many live service games like Destiny 2, The Division 2, and it won't be any different for Helldivers 2. Once a new faction drops are out, or a new modes comes out, or anything new, the players will return, that's for sure. And the game being so beloved and so great, the response of anything new will also be the great. So my fellow Helldivers, let's brace ourselves for the next big war. spread the managed democracy. Now, the main thing which makes me believe that the game is not dead is the studio behind it. The Arrowhead studio is just amazing, with amazing people behind it. The former CEO of the studio was very communicative and cared for this wholesome community. And the devs also are very interactive with their players, taking on player suggestions and criticism alike. Their Discord servers are very much active with tons of players sharing their experience and happiness alike. Also, the devs have stated that they are not very happy with the current state of the game and also want to improve upon it. And I believe taking upon criticism and agreeing with what is not good with your game or your project is a very good indication of how passionate you are about your project or your game. Being a small studio and releasing AAA title game for a price tag of $40 when the rest of industry sucks the audience dry, just huge green flag for any studio. And even the new CEO guy is just amazing. Lately he posted a tweet showing the amount of hours he put in the game, trying to introduce himself to the community in a positive way. It just feels amazing to see a studio so much passionate about the game. Overall, I believe the game is nowhere near dying area. In fact, I believe it has a very healthy future, and with the new faction dropping, I hope we get him. Fingers crossed. And all the new content coming, we are up for the next big fight.